What is up, everyone, and welcome to Ask the Producer series. Today we are going through a bit of sound design here because for those of you that follow us on Instagram, you might have seen a video of Solo Leveling that just had their final or their season finale recently, where I did a little bit of a sound design on how I imagined that Foley to sound like. I was a little bit disappointed with the way it actually sounded. Now I have in the studio preloaded the project that I used for that video, so let's go in there and check it out, shall we? So this is the project. Now we have two main sounds that are happening. It is the first kind of going into slow-mo impact that is kind of building into that real big impact, the punch that's coming in. Now we're gonna go through them sound by sound, right? And all the layers that are part of it. So here we have, first off, that little really disappointing when you don't get that payoff, huh? Let's start off with the first sound. So first off, I wanted that bone cracking sound. That is actually just the Nightmare pack with a bunch of those bone cracking sounds that I put together. For those of you that have been following us for a while know that all of those are just vegetables, mainly bell peppers and celery, but they make a really great sound design element. Then we have and that, like, already there, the majority of the sounds are already there. It's that subdrop kind of communicates that you're going into slow-mo, and then the bone cracking as well. I mean, you can have, there's a visual of like a fist going into a rib cage, basically. I heard something that because I wanted it to feel a bit more stressed, that I added a heartbeat into it, and it really, I don't know, it just does a lot when I listen to it. Then finally we just have risers and more risers and more transitions and more risers. So all of these four to really sell that kind of, like, to really get into that punch that is about to come. This is the most fun part of it. So like there is a, wait, okay, let's get into that one later actually, but that one was an interesting kind of feat from when I made this. So what you can see here is that there is a short window between the ending of the build-up and the actual impact. And this by far is one of the most important techniques that you can think about when you're really making something super impactful. And this goes for music as well. Can you imagine like having a drop that just goes from the full sweep and then kind of coming back down into a drop? You kind of lose that impact because there is none. There is no time for your ears to breathe. So what I did was, after this, right after here, there's a short moment where your ears kind of get to relax, and then that big impact comes in. So that is really important how you space this when you're making something like that. So let's start off with the first layer of the actual impact. So the first impact noise is banging on a big oil tanker, I guess. I want that really low metallic rumble. Then we have the thunder, which I think is really cool. And mainly, it's not for the impact, it's for the tail of thunder. That is what's doing it for me. Then we have a 12 gauge shotgun, I presume, which is just super distorted. We have another shotgun there, but there actually was the most important part, the tail. And what I used for that was the limiter. So if you listen to it without anything on it, it's okay. But to really sell how hard that punch was, what the limiter does here is something that naturally happens in our ears as well. So there is, when you hear a transient in real life, there are muscles surrounding like the ears and stuff like that kind of like clench up, that make you less susceptible to like really strong sounds. That's why you feel tired after you've been at a concert and stuff like that, because those muscles are relaxing. But what is happening here is that when the initial impact comes, the limiter slams everything down, which makes everything technically lower in volume, but then as the release kind of subsides, it brings the more of that tail in, so the tail is going to be way louder. So as you can see, really impactful and really loud tail versus it's there, but it's not the same. Then we have another subdrop, which is has clipper on as much as possible without like I didn't want it to sound like way too broken, so I don't like that sound, but that's a perfect amount if you ask me. Then we go into this. Okay, masterpiece. Think about this. One thing that I've noticed in a lot of like anime sound design and stuff like that, where I really feel like it's super impactful, you think about the secondary sounds. What would happen with a punch? Yes, you have the actual impact, and I guess like that's it. That's all there is to it. But what is more around that? So if you're doing like a really hard punch, like maybe rocks are flying around, or like there's wind and stuff happening, and like there's secondary actions like clothes making these sounds and stuff like that. So what I added here was big rocks hitting into each other. So listen to this. And to make this super impactful, let's remove the FX. Sounded like rocks, but boost the bass and add a limiter yet again. There's a lot more thump into each of those rocks. And I added actually a second one, because I wanted it to have like a long kind of like, I wanted there to be a lot of rocks hitting and like keep on going throughout the tail of that impact. And then I just felt like I missed a little bit of something there, and I wanted like that sizzle and kind of like I had that as a mind thing, that it kind of represented the wind, because there's a lot of hiss in that. There's a lot of hiss. So with all of that, let's listen to it as is. So I timed this to the clip, but and there you can hear all of the elements. I hope this was interesting. This was really fun for me. I love doing these things, so I'm going to continue doing that on the Instagram. So do follow us there. And if you like this content, please like and follow down below, because it really helps us out knowing what we want, what you guys want to watch coming from us. Now, with all of that said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.